Well, I'm really pleased to be rejoined by our Amy Rogers, our LPGA reporter. Amy, we've just talked shop a little bit about the LPGA Tour season, but I want to go behind the scenes and kind of delve into your reporter life this season, because so much about golf is all in the personality of the players. Is there anyone that you've particularly enjoyed sort of spending time with and interviewing this season, someone that our viewers would really enjoy getting to know better?
Well, with so many of the players winning multiple times this season, I've seen a lot of the same faces over and over because obviously they've been winning multiple times. But there is one name that really stood out to me this year, and that is Wichani Michai. And this was at the U.S. Women's Open. You have this journeywoman that not a lot of people really know much about, who is in contention for her first major championship. And right out the bat, she is endearing, she is open, she reveals that she deals very much with her nerves, and she's especially battling them in this major championship, which is incredible, you know, for us as interviewers to be able to get these players to open up and share with us what they're really experiencing. That's like hitting the jackpot. Well, as the week goes on and we're starting to get to know her more, we're peeling back the layers of this onion. She reveals to us that the house that she's staying in that week, she thinks it's haunted. Not just haunted, but it has a friendly ghost. So this story is just getting better as the week goes on. Could not have scripted it any better than perhaps if she actually had gone on to win her first major championship. But she's someone that we really got to know. Unfortunately, we haven't seen her in contention much since that U.S. Women's Open, but that was just a thrill to get to know someone to that level during that major championship.
Yeah, you're so right. When you get a player who just throws you a little curveball in an interview or just shows their personality, doesn't give you the stereotypical answer, it is so refreshing. I love that. Okay, most emotional victory that you've witnessed in person this season, Amy?
Yeah, this season, I think the most emotional one was the victory by Amy Yang at Sahalee in the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. I had covered Amy Yang for more than a decade and covered countless close calls for Amy in major championships. So here she was, finally 17 years on the LPGA Tour, grinding away. She is one of the kindest, most accessible players, always giving of her time. Another player who's very open and honest about what she's dealing with. So to finally see her get that major victory, I spoke to her on the 18th green on Sunday at Sahalee, and you could just see the relief in her eyes and the pure joy that she was feeling getting that major after all that time. And I think there's a huge appreciation there for fans watching to see someone to have that sort of perseverance, to grind all those years, to keep working towards that win. There's something to be said for that sort of perseverance. And it was just so inspiring to be able to share her story, to finally get that win. And it was a popular one with all their players there. They certainly were feeling the same thing as well.
Yeah, you're right. We had an insight to that as well when she picked up the CME Group Tour Championship at the end of last season, and when she came on the desk. You're right, she was so popular. She had about 100 fans behind her chanting, "Amy, Amy." It was amazing to see. So that was an awesome win. Totally agree. In terms of most valuable player on the tour this year, Amy, just sort of bringing eyeballs to the LPGA, really growing the women's game. Who do you think has really lent into that role this season?
You know, going into the season, especially with what happened early in the season with Nelly Korda, I think there was a lot of expectation that she was going to be that player to sort of take up that mantle. And I just don't think that it's in her personality with what she's kind of said and hinted at, that that's something she's interested in doing. And so I don't think anyone's really gone out of their way to take up that role. But someone who's kind of fallen into it by default has been Charley Hull. She's been this surprise star for the LPGA this season. Those videos of her on social media and the reports of her at the U.S. Women's Open smoking just kind of took her to this whole other level of popularity that we really haven't seen much in the women's game. And it's sort of taken her to a different audience as well, which is always great for the LPGA to open them up to more fans as well. So I don't think she intended for this to happen, but Charley Hull has become a sneaky ambassador for women's golf this year.
Yeah, she's sort of like the bad gal of the LPGA. And I think viewers and fans and all of us, we just embrace that side of Charley. And I don't think she even intentionally does any of it. She just is who she is, and she cracks on, and she just entertains us every time she's out there. So, yeah, very good shout there with Charley Hull. OK, I just want to touch as well on your time at the Solheim Cup, because that was such a unique week, an amazing week for the US, and, of course, Stacey Lewis to finally do it after that disappointment in Spain a couple of weeks ago. What did you notice just about the camaraderie and the dynamic of the US team this year?
I think that the U.S. was finally relaxed. I think so many of these Solheim Cups in the past, they were just wound so tight. I think there was so much pressure on them, and they just wanted it so badly. But I was there on the first tee each day as all of the groups would tee off for each session. So I spent a lot of time out there just observing the players, observing the captains, the vice captains, and I have never seen them more laid back and relaxed. Stacey was so chill every time I interviewed her and spoke with her, and she kept telling me that the team was like this, but you're like, okay, are they really? But I would see them interact and be out there together, and there was definitely more of a relaxation, more of a sense of just joy of just being there and competing and being in this experience. And it was a huge opportunity for Stacey Lewis. She went out on this limb, putting all this faith and stock into her partners at KPMG to rely on these statistics, which she used to not only build her team, but to also determine each of her pairings each day. So she put a lot of faith into this experiment and wasn't really sure if it was going to work out. Now, she saw some indications in Spain, obviously with them finishing in that tie with the European side, that, okay, this is working, there's something to this. But I think Stacey was definitely seeking some validation in DC to see this pay off. So it was huge for her to be able to see all that risk pay off and for the team to finally win back the cup.
Yeah, she deserved it. So happy for Stacey Lewis. So much hard work, and you're right, and it finally paid off. OK, well, just finally, we've got to look ahead, bring it back to this week in Japan. That's just the final event left on the Asian swing, and then, of course, heading to Hawaii and finishing up in Florida. What are some of the things that some of our viewers should be watching out for this week?
Well, we've got an exciting player in the field. Jin Young Ko hasn't made a lot of starts this season. She is in the field, so it'll be exciting to see what she can do. She's been dealing with a shoulder injury, so we'll be looking to see how well she does over this closing stretch of the season. Now, she has 6 top 10s so far this year, so anything's possible with Jin Young. I've reported on her injuries in the past, and then she's gone on to not even practice before a competition round and gone on to win. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Jin Young Ko get a win over this closing stretch of the season and keep that winning streak alive. She has won every season on the LPGA Tour since 2017, so it would be hard to imagine that she wouldn't get a win sometime over these last few events. And then, of course, the race to the CME Globe. This is huge. There are just 3 events remaining in order for players to make up points in that race. The top 60 will get into the field at the CME Group Tour Championship. Now, everybody wants to get into that field, but not like they do this year. We are going to see prize money like we have never seen before in the women's game. The winner on Sunday in Naples is going to take home $4 million. So players want to make sure that they get into that field and have a chance. You got players on the bubble this week in Japan like Marina Alex, Alexa Pano, that are going to want to make up some ground and lock up their spot so they can compete for that $4 million.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And once you're there, it is winner takes all. There's no staggered leaderboard. There's no advantage. It's whoever shoots the lowest score takes home that $4 million. Amy, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I'm going to see you on the road in the next couple of weeks, so can't wait to see you. And thanks again.
Thank you, friends. See you soon.
OK, well, let's just take a quick look at some of the notables in the field this week. You've got a handful of names of players with no wins this season as well. We're going to be talking about Jin Young Ko in just a second. Brooke Henderson as well, Minjee Lee, Lynn Grant, all looking for their first LPGA Tour victories of the season. So is this the week to do it, as I reintroduce Jim Gallagher Jr.? And I want to start exactly there, because Jin Young Ko, she has won 7 consecutive years on the LPGA Tour. She is running out of time to make it 8. What have you noticed about her season, which has somewhat been hampered by injury?
I think the biggest thing that's been hampered by injury, and she's had that the last few years. I think that's one of the things that's held her back. And, it's on her mind. She knows she's won 7 years in a row. And she wants to keep it going. But there's a couple stats, and now we're nitpicking here a little bit, but a couple stats that kind of stuck up to me. When we looked at them right here, of course, there's 2 wins in 2023 and none yet this season. Fairways down just slightly. That's nothing to be panicking about. And then greens and regulation, 73.9 down to 70.2. But there's one that sticks out a little bit. It's that scoring average, 69.99, 70.73. That may not seem a lot, but she has 6 top 10s this season, not to win. And when you're injured, you're not going to be 100%. So I think that's things that maybe hold her back. I know she wants to keep that streak alive. She's very proud of that. Hopefully she's healthy and can make a little bit of a run as she continues on this week as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jim. We've got a couple of other big names as well looking for their first win of the season in the likes of Brooke Henderson, Leona Maguire. How confident are you that perhaps one of these big players can pull off a win this week?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Brooke Henderson, last year, it's been putting this year. It's probably one of her worst ones. She's dropped from 15th to 93 in putts per greens regulation, and her stroke average is about a half a shot higher. That being said, she still has 8 top 10s. She's still a great player. She's top 15 on the CME list. She hadn't played the last couple of weeks. She has played, but she took about a month or so off after